Welcome to Growing a Fruitful Brand, where we discuss how to create and grow a brand that makes the world a better place for you, your customers, and your employees. I'm Ben Luters, founder and art director of Fruitful Design and Strategy here in Omaha, Nebraska, and today's guest is Dave Miller. Dave is the co-founder of Leadership Pathway, an organization dedicated to finding, supporting, and developing the next generation of ministry leaders. But before that, however, Dave helped build a sales team and processes at a service industry company that went from 2 to 12 million while he was there. Today, my co-host Raj Lula talks to Dave about building an effective sales team. Some of us have so many sales that we can't hire enough people to get the work done, while some of us need more sales to keep everyone on our team busy. Full disclosure, Dave was actually a client of mine in the early days of Fruitful, and he was actually Raj's boss. I hope you enjoy this conversation with Dave Miller.
Dave, thanks for being on Growing a Fruitful Brand.
Oh man, I'm honored to be asked, Raj, and maybe between my ramblings today and your excellent questions, somebody will get something out of this. Who knows?
So I feel like we should disclose for everyone the nature of our relationship, because you are the last boss so far that I have ever had. And if I work at Fruitful for the rest of my life, you will have the distinguished place of being the last boss I ever had. So I feel like that
never going to do that again.
I was gonna say, it either means that you helped me graduate from needing a boss, or that you just soured me on bosses forever. It's probably the former.
Depends on the podcast.
But it's really great to have you. We've known each other for 10 years now? Yeah, because our oldest was a baby when we met.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
She's a fifth grader now. So it's great to have you.
Yeah, it's great to be here. It really is.
As Ben mentioned, you have built sales organizations, and I know that we're kind of going into a weird economy, and I feel like people are either so full of leads that they need to recruit people and know how to train up a sales team quickly, or they're so hungry for leads that they need their salespeople to get on it. So right now you lead Leadership Pathway, but you've also built sales organizations.
Yeah.
What's similar between trying to find people and trying to find leads or try to sell products?
Yeah, it's a great question, man. I think that I'm thinking of Daniel Pink's book, To Sell is Human, which kind of made the circles a few months or a year ago or something. Everybody was reading it. Have you read this book? And he talks about how the digital age and the modern times that we live in, they had predicted that we wouldn't need salespeople, that we would just be direct to consumers on everything. And there are certainly some shining examples of that. But his argument is that, no, actually it's gone from 2 out of 10 workers to like 9 out of 10 workers. That you're either selling a product, you're pitching a client, or internally you're recruiting you're selling your own ideas internally. And this idea that everybody's communicating, everybody's producing content of some sort, even the nerdiest of engineers sitting in a cubicle deep in the bowels of a big organization has to be able to communicate, has to be able to sell his idea or her idea, right?
Yeah.
And so recruiting, getting a proposal signed or convincing someone to think about a job, very similar in its woo, I think. Very similar in the conversation of helping convince them to do something. With the client, you're just hanging on. I mean, this morning I saw one clicked the accept button, and a team I'm working with, everyone cheered. Same thing on the recruiting side. We're recruiting right now, like everybody else, for our own team, trying to get people interested in that. What do they see when they go to our web? What do they see when they go to our social channels? And I believe they are shopping us as hard as a potential client is shopping us, and we don't even know it.
That tracks exactly with what we're experiencing right now. Some of our business, most of our business is helping people get leads and sell their product, I would say probably maybe another 30% is helping people recruit. But it was interesting that you brought up that internal communications piece, because I would say probably about 10 or so % of our business is helping people build internal tools to communicate.
Sure.
Whether it's sharpen a pitch deck or build an employee dashboard or something like that.
Sure.
It is all kind of the same world, because it's about positioning the other person for their success. And so whether that's, helping your boss, invest in your idea so that the company can succeed, or whether that's helping somebody find a job that they'll be really successful in, or whether that's, or whether that's selling someone a product that's going to help them do whatever they're trying to do better. All of those things have very, very similar facets to them. So that's fascinating.
Raj, I did not set out when I was 19 to become a traveling sales guy or become a sales leader, right, of an organization or something. I began selling because it beat doing what I was educated to do, which was be a janitor. My trajectory from 19 to 34 came to an end. It was done with me, or I was done with it. I still don't know. I'll work that out someday. And someone says to me, "Hey, do you want to go consult this organization with me?" And I'm like, yeah, I have no idea what we're doing. And flying home, he pitches me, "How's this number sound and this and that? And I've got a list of leads. I need you to call them and set up some meetings." And I literally came home and told my wife, I found something to do for 6 months while we figure this out. And I am not exaggerating. I'm condensing a painful 18 months into that scene. But I will tell you, I thought I would do this for 6 months. And that was 15 years ago at this point. And I've been convincing someone of something ever since. But I would say, what did my dad do for a living? He was a traveling sales guy. What did I say I would never do? I said I would never travel for a living and I would never sell. And I guess this apple didn't fall far from that tree. But when I think back, Raj, to third grade, I brought the kickball. We were playing kickball. I was convincing everyone we're going to play kickball, right? And the only question in my mind was, who's the other captain who's going to pick teams real quick? It's just an idiot. It's just an idiot. And I think of the trajectory from that moment through school. I was never brave enough to do crazy things, but I could talk my friends into doing crazy things. And that's why I got in trouble. And I think Daniel Pink in that book speaks to this, that really there's not a personality that's the perfect sales guy. There's not a personality that's a bad salesperson. Anyone can do this. It's learned. Most of it is metric driven, which is what has been new to me the last decade or so, which I didn't want to pay attention to. But I've learned to pay attention to lead metrics, and not just did they sign it or not. How did we sign it? Every salesperson I know wants to know, why did we lose?
Yeah.
And I want to know, why did we win?
Yeah.
I want to get good at knowing both of those, and it will really help you take steps forward. But this idea that everyone has the tools, everyone knows what good communication is, everyone is convincing someone about something. And I think, whether you're selling life-changing services or ball bearings, you have to, that's going to be my example, by the way, through this ball bearings. I don't know why I said that. You usually say brake pads because I think it's Tommy
It used to be
Boy.
brake pads, yeah.
So if you're selling ball bearings or life-changing health services, I think the skill is similar.
You talked about your first sales role being, starting out as a consulting, just one session, really.
Yeah.
And that's something that I personally have learned from you, of just how to be helpful to people before they ever buy from you. Can you talk about that a little bit, of, how you started that approach, or was it just what you were exposed to first, and what can be valuable to people in taking that approach?
I think in the earliest days, that guy said to me, do whatever's in the best interest of the client. Now, like every true thing that's on a bumper sticker, Raj, you can take that to extremes and it can be unhealthy. And I've seen it be unhealthy where a sales individual is now identifying more with the client than they are our team. And that's going to lead you to a bad deal. And I know this because I've done it. I was almost like a sick, obsessive, compulsive. I'm identifying more with them than I am what is profitable and a good deal for us and work we can actually do. And I just keep doing what. So I don't mean that. So back it up 20% for all the people that are just like, well, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. No, you do what's in the best interest of the client as long as it's within the bounds and the business rules that you've set. And then that phrase over time, for me, kind of became this brand position of how can I help you do your thing? It's not about my thing. It's about your thing. I've been involved with a group now they actually use a tagline, your vision, our passion, or something like your vision, our passion. And it's true. You get under the hood of that company and that thing, it's 8 years old. There's 45 people. They live all over the country. And this comes out of the owner who so desperately wants to elevate the goodness of the clients, and their organization stays under the surface, and the hero of their story is that person. That's, the great thing about one of the great things about the Storybrand stuff is it puts language to that, who the hero of the story is. And when the first time I read that, I was like, oh yeah, we didn't say it that way, but definitely we're trying to meet these people where they are. The old-fashioned word is serving. As a person of faith, this goes to the core of this stuff. And I deal with a lot of people of faith who consult and who sell things, and they sell things in a religious context or a faith context. I'm like, you think you're flying across the country to be the expert on that. You might be flying across the country just to wipe the sink off in the plane and encourage the flight attendant. You have to be super open about this stuff. Super open-handed about it, I think. And your first brand position, to me, if you're going to work around, is serving one another and serving clients. How can I help you do your thing? And I mean, I've used that in higher ed recruiting teams. I've used that with people who are asking people for money, even donors, funding situations, and certainly on the sales side. And we all want to live in a dreamy land where we have so much business happening, we can pick and choose who we want to work with. And I want to live there too. Wink, wink. Like as if I've ever really had that luxury. Not with anything I'm leading. I've had that luxury with some other stuff, but in terms of like what's going on, I would just say, but if you're not going to serve, if it's not about them, from my perspective, that's going to be a bad deal for everybody by the time you get there. The ribbon cutting or the end of that project, if you don't start with it's about them, it's not about me or us, you're going to be disappointed. And I think you're going to have a disappointed client at the end of it.
One of the things that you've talked about is that when the economy gets tough, we have to get creative with our terms. You said it a little bit more earlier about getting creative with what you sell. Can you tell us a little bit about how do you identify when you have maybe stepped too far into that world? It's like, yes, this would be good for the customer, but not necessarily for the business.
Yeah, I think I've got this thing my friends would call, I won't tell you what they really call it, but it's Miller wisdom. Miller wisdoms. Give us some of that Miller stuff. And it's misspelled and, but profoundly impactful, of course, Raj. And I had a baker's dozen, and I've put like a good consultant would. I just keep changing the logo at the top and giving it to people. The bakers that, and one of them is sell them something, just don't sell them anything. You have to have, and this is tough in startup world. You got to have guardrails, and if you're listening to this and you're a solo entrepreneur, solopreneur, or a gig person like Seth Godin would say, I would encourage you to do this as well, because it keeps you out of trouble.
Yeah.
If a solo entrepreneur could sit for an hour, maybe 30 minutes, half sheet of paper, put rules in place, some guardrails that keep you from selling something that you should not sell. And then I tell people, when they talk to me like, hey, I'm like, well, what's your gut telling you right now? They're like, well, I don't know. I don't trust my gut. I'm like, okay, whose gut can you trust then? And I would tell anyone to pay attention to if their gut reaction to something. I shouldn't sell this, but I'm going to, because I gotta pay the power bill, or whatever. I gotta meet payroll. If that thing is going off in your gut, and that thing has served you well in the past, you better pay attention to it.
Earlier, you talked about the '08 recession, and there are those of us who lived through it and, learned some lessons through that. But a lot of our salespeople, a lot of the younger people that we're hiring were, in ninth grade or whatever when that happened. And so they maybe watched their older brother or sister or their parents struggle through it, but they don't have any firsthand knowledge of that. For somebody who's either going through it for the first time, selling into a tough economy, or they're leading a team of people who are selling into a tough economy, what are some real quick hits? What would be the bullet point list that you'd give them to, okay, buckle in for this next season. Here's what you do. Yeah.
Well, I would say the old-fashioned funnel, which I know a lot of us don't want to talk about a sales funnel anymore, but it's about a conversation and things that are nice, like clouds and unicorns. But I would just say, in a recession, and I don't know if we're in one, I'm not that smart. If we're in one, we're going into one, or if it's new and different than ever before, I don't understand. I don't get it, right? But I would just say, you're going to have more and more clients out of the blue be like, bro, I hate to say this to you, but we just came through budgeting, or I just lost, the big quit. I learned in recruiting, you got to be 5 or 6 people deep with these organizations too. So you not only have to top load the funnel and get that thing at the top, like really laden with real people that you're talking to that might do something in 6 to 12 months. You got to get multiple people in these organizations, because that person quits, moves on, starts their own thing. It happens it's happening at alarming rates, of course. It's driving the staffing industry, by the way, but it's really hurting on the sales side. Because I flew there, we went to lunch. It was great. I know of his kids, and he knows my kid. We know, and now he's gone. And this person's like, who are you? I'm the guy you're going to sign a contract with next. We're not signing it. We don't have any money. It happens a lot. So you have to increase the metric at the top. If you don't know how many qualified leads it takes to get to a sale in your world, you should go reverse engineer this and pick a number. That's another one of these. We just kind of picked a number 18 months ago, started shooting at it, and it proved out. How many qualified leads does it take for them to begin to advance, to get a proposal from us, and to get signed? What is that metric? And if you don't know it, go make one up and tell everyone. If you do know it, you just need to double. To get through your downturn of economy, you have to double the thing at the top for everybody. If you have a sales team, you should reward them. Great salespeople have daddy issues. They want to win. They want the trophy. They act like they don't want to be called up in front of everyone, but they actually do. I know this because I am one. Reward them in your CRM or whatever you're using, homespun, I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. But is their name there? And the biggest number are the qualified leads. And I would reward that stuff, especially for the next 6 months if we're going into recession.
Something you said that stood out to me was, salespeople love lag measures, and they want the trophy, they want the bonus, whatever, for that. And I think that the salesperson who loves lag measures gets the award, they get the bonus. But the salesperson who masters lead measures, they get a promotion, they get a career.
Yeah,
and because that's what I've seen is that the ones who like the win, they're competitive in the room. They're going to hit their goals, and then you do have to wonder how to motivate them, after the fact. But the ones who master, what do I need to do as a discipline to make this sustainable, so that I am hitting my goals ahead of schedule? Because we don't know if there's going to be a bad quarter. No one had it on their bingo card.
That's right.
At the end of 2019 that they were going to not be able to talk to anyone except for on Zoom 3 months later. And so the people who were ahead of target at that point were the ones who survived that pretty well. The world normalized pretty quickly into Zoom calls and whatever. And the people who were pushing the right behaviors ahead of that were the ones who survived, or at least recovered more quickly. What are some other things that, again, the younger salesperson or the person leading younger salespeople, what are some other things that they should be adopting right now? You gave me, 6 or 8 of them over text the other day when we were talking. What are some of those things that younger salespeople should be adopting right now?
I think potential clients are in pain. If it's true we're in a recession they're in pain. They're in pain. They're more freaked out than you are, supposedly, in this conversation. So you gotta meet their need. Back to that, it's about them. It's not about you. Are you serving them? This is where you might discover something you could sell them that is a good deal for you that they actually need because they're in a recession. And I learned that back in 08. I would say you got to be clear. The stuff I've learned from you guys. You got to be clear on brand more than ever. Because if you don't, you'll pivot into stupid. We've already talked about that a little bit. But who are you? Why are you doing this in the first place? And you have to stay clear on that. And I wouldn't stay clear on it to the point that you lose your house, right?
Right.
Those are great stories to read in Inc. magazine when they've then launched something else and made $1 billion. Raj was an entrepreneur through his 20s and went through 3 marriages, lost 2 houses, spent a weekend in jail because he was but now he runs. That's great. I just think you could have a much thicker magazine of the people that go insane and really put themselves. I'm not talking about doing that. I'm not talking about, Seth Godin would say, shun the unbeliever, which I love. We talk about this a lot in our little world that we work in. We're trying to do dozens of things this year. There are hundreds of thousands of opportunities out there. We just have to find the right few dozen. So don't stay too long with somebody that doesn't want what you're selling. Most salespeople, I know this, once it enters proposed and it's sitting there, we go to some dreamy land. Like they're reading this every day and obsessing over whether or not they're going to. And that's why I love using whatever it is we use, that I can now see they've not opened it in 60 days. They haven't even looked at it. They're not. It's like the 10th grade kid who just dreams about the lead cheerleader. He's got a shot with her. He would rather not go over there and talk to her and have her just say, "Are you kidding me? I'm not dancing with you." Sales guys, I heard a thing 2 months ago. I sent to all of these people I'm working with. The whole point of the talk was use the phone. This guy, if sales guys would make 3 phone calls a day, they could easily be the top of their company. You call, you text, you move beyond CRM and automated marketing things once it's down to that level. Once it's down to they have a proposal. Are we going to work together or not? And let them tell you no. So you can market in your CRM and move on. They don't want your selling. They don't want it. They either don't need it. They're too smart. That's okay. I don't like admitting that, but some people, some clients, some potential clients do not need us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most salespeople don't want to admit that.
I've been in front of clients before where one of a few things happens. One is, if you do consultative selling like we do, where we just offer value first, I've had people take that advice and run with it. They were able to execute on just what I said.
Yes.
And for the moment, that doesn't feel very good. But then, if you kind of play it out in your mind, if those people are capable of doing that, then they would have been wasting money on you, and they wouldn't have been very happy with it. The whole time they'd be sitting there looking, saying, I could do all of this. I don't know why I'm paying for this.
Yeah.
Great, go do it. The other one that I've experienced that is tough to swallow is, hey, this thing's too big for us. They need something more complicated and more sophisticated than what we sell. And in fact, I was just telling our sales team this week that we really do well with companies that are 2 to 10 million, or they're working on a project. They might be a larger company, but they're working on a project that's 2 to 10 million.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we do get leads from larger organizations, and it's flattering. Yeah. But there are times that if $100 million company came to us and said, we want you to do all of our marketing.
Right.
And they weren't willing to wait 6 months for us to go hire a big enough team to do that.
For sure.
Then it would swamp us. And so knowing that it's not the right time for you to work with this client and just closing that out, like you said, moving on, it's healthier than going to that dreamland and pretending that something's going to happen. HubSpot's been a real eye opener for us of that email didn't even get open. Okay.
Right.
Right. That shows how serious we are. Or you try a few more times to get through, and then you close it out.
In times of recession, it might be a handwritten note. I've really enjoyed the last couple months with you talking, and they've got a proposal, and you put a sticker, you put something cheap in it. You send that handwritten note to them. Nobody gets mail unless it's bad news or stupid ads, I don't even know. I guess it's effective that the furniture store is going out of business and we need to go there this weekend. I guess that still works. But the only thing we get are bills occasionally. Most of it's automated. But occasionally bad news from the IRS or a handwritten note from someone. I think I would continue to say one of the things that we try to do is send handwritten notes of encouragement. Again, it's about them. It's not about us. It sticks out to people. It's weird, especially if you give them something that's going to lay around their desk and remind them that they have a proposal from you. Would they please just click accept? So in recession times, it doesn't mean all of the answers are very complex and very expensive. Find ways to combat this. Calling on the phone. I hope we get to work together. They're not going to answer anyway, by the way. They're not. So you're going to leave a voicemail, and then you're going to text them, I just left you a voicemail, and see what happens. If you could just make, 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, that's such a great tip for younger salespeople. For sure. To kind of get over that fear of calling is, your odds of actually getting somebody to pick up the phone are probably 20%, if that.
Oh, if that.
And so just be prepared with a great voicemail. And if they answer the phone, that means they want to talk to you.
Absolutely.
Especially if you were already on their caller ID and they know who's calling.
I would bet, Raj, most of us that are not making brake pads or ball bearings, we're in consultative, we're helping people down. Most of the time, it's not just no, I hate you. Don't ever.
Yeah.
It's not yet. It's a different kind of no in our world.
I will say, Dan, our sales guy, who you and I have in common, actually from higher ed way back in the day, he has brought back from the dead a couple of deals, and it was really just about remembering to call somebody after the fact, even after they had told us no and gone with another firm. He just called to see how things were going. Yeah. And not the slimy, how's it going? Do you regret your choice? But just literally, hey, I'm curious how it went.
Yeah. For your clients, your clients, solopreneurs or young, cool agency that are creating market, in whatever their world that they're in. A guy on our team, Simon, was over 3 years old this week. And by the way, this should encourage people in these recession times. I looked back. Mm-hmm. It started with me. I got tired of it. I handed it off to him in 2019. He finally pitched them a thing about 12 months ago. They said no to. He stayed with it. The thing we sold them, way better for us in the terms and the numbers and what it is, right? And we've learned a lot in a year too, of course. So we're way better positioned to help them, and we're going to make more money. Or in our world, we're going to lose less money on this one than we would have lost on the other one. So that should be encouraging to, in these recession times, what you're doing, what you're selling is going to meet people's point of need. And they may have been listening to you for years. And this is the month, this is the week. They wake up and like, we got to do this. From our vantage point, I'm like, you should have started this 3 years ago, man. But here we are. Yeah. So it was a win for him this week to get that closed.
Yeah, that goes back to the point you made earlier about, not paying attention even to brands that we love until we need them. And so that's why you have to stay in their email box.
Right.
I told somebody this week that they were under emailing their clients by 4 times, that they should be doing 4 times as much email as they're doing. Yeah. And they looked at me like I was insane. And I said, just look at open rates. Literally, if your open rate is 25 to 30%, then you can send 4 times as many email. And the odds are that you're not going to have somebody opening all 4 emails. Your biggest fans absolutely will open all 4 emails, or maybe 3 of the 4. But the people who are just thinking about it are going to open maybe 1 of the 4 or 1 of the 8 that they get from you. So you might as well send 4 times as much email, because I'd love to see an experiment. I'm not going to do it because I think it'd probably get us put in spam boxes. But I'd love to see an experiment. If you just sent the same email twice in a row, how many people would even notice? Because I would bet that number is going to be super low. Don't do it. It's not a good practice. But it's the point, though, that we're not reaching out enough. And especially for those deals that are warming over a year, 2 years, 3 years, those end up being your best qualified buyers, because if they're still thinking about it, if they've been thinking about you for 3 years, think about if you were thinking about a guy or a girl, for 3 years and reached out, you finally got the guts to reach out to them and say that you've liked them this whole time. It's like, you're ready to get married if the person on the other end of the phone says, says, yes,
we've
me
been
too.
Vetting this
like,
You're vetting this person. You've been vetting this person, reading everything from them, for sure. I would say we will never, as salespeople, recession proof what we're doing. So because if you're doing it well, it is a living and organic relationship with someone else. Yeah. It's the potential client. So you can only do as much as you can do and own as much as you can own. But you do have to, in times like this, you do have to look for things, and maybe it's super cheap and sometimes even free. That's going to set you apart. If you have a competitor, if you're not making market, a handwritten note and a phone call could turn that thing. And are you looking for ways to mitigate as much of it as you can? So front load, top load that funnel, man. Put more up there than you think you're going to need, because you're going to need it. And because these relationships are living and they're organic with real people called potential clients.
You said the phrase, everything is a lead. Can you unpack that for us?
Yeah, man. One of those, I called it the baker's dozen, I think. I tried to do 10 commandments, but like a good Kentuckian, I couldn't edit myself. So it wound up with 13 things. One of them is everything's a lead. People have asked me for, what's the hardest part of the sales process? Marketing to a qualified lead to proposal to close. And I'm like, I think getting the lead. is the hardest. It is the hardest thing to master. Getting that lead, quickly identifying, is this real or not? So I don't spend resources I shouldn't be spending, to our point earlier. But everything is a lead. And teaching salespeople, and I'd have to, what industry are you in, and hear a few stories, and then start thinking about how do people resource the life that they have. In some ways, you're just looking around at your own personal relationships and who all those people know. Your personal geographic space. What's out your window, by the way? Are you listening to this while you're on your Peloton and across the street is a business sign and you've never walked in there, and maybe you should go make a friend over there? It's, I love the stories of, we got this proposal signed. I love even more this when I open and look in our CRM, where was it sourced from? And it's that guy's brother's cousin, priest, who had a friend who knew and I love that stuff, because we're 6 degrees away from our little, you taught me, you were the first person I think ever, our little echo chamber that bounces, the same 100 people love everything we put out. How do you get beyond that echo chamber and build beyond it? And I love it when the salesperson, in a classic sense, it's outbound. They're going out and prospecting this, not, the old fashioned knocking on doors, which we don't do anymore. Yeah. But they're not just waiting on everything to come inbound. You guys and your brilliance of how to market, and how to market in a way that actually serves other people, is really, really helpful. And we need smart marketing people to do that. I need the smart salespeople that don't just look at you and rely on that for their pipeline. This person read everything from us for 3 years and then finally clicked and said, please contact me. To your recent, I love that client because they're smart. We have educated them. They know exactly what we're going to do with them. But we also have to have a sales energy that it starts at the talking, when it enters the funnel, and we've just met them because we had lunch together yesterday, spent 4 hours, and they got a proposal last night while I was at the hotel. I like that mentality. If everything's a lead, then the potential client that told you no 2 years ago, that's a lead. You might go dumpster diving and resurrect them from the dead. This might be the month. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you called me. I'd forgotten you. Don't forget current clients who love you. Yeah. Most people like being the hookup guy. Most people like being the person that says, I got a guy. Need a plumber? Yeah. Need a priest? Oh, yeah. I got a guy. Need a car wash? Need a taco restaurant? You need a agency that does exactly what your company does? I know a guy. Asking for leads. I have an auto reminder set to ask current clients. Who else do you know in your town? We've got this weird, we're super small, but we're all over the country. It's not easy. I'm assuming, like most people listening to this, it's virtual. It doesn't matter where you live. Asking people, do you have 3 friends? What if I came to town and I could buy us all lunch? Everybody likes being that guy, but they got to sit still for 10 minutes and be quiet and think about who do they know, right? Sometimes we have to teach our clients. I bet if you sat still, you'd think of someone else we could serve that's awesome, just like you.
Well, Dave, thank you so much for being with us. Where can people find you, what you're doing? I know you got a couple different things going on, and would love to help people find, if they want to get more sales coaching from you. Or DaveMillerOnline.com. And then there's it won't make any sense to you when you go there, but there is something called The Group. I needed a really great, Raj, to our point earlier, had an idea and had a landing page in a few hours, need to call it something. So I call it The Group. How creative. And so that's where I try to get like-minded salespeople together. It's been I've learned a lot. And I think sometimes the solo. Dan from our,
absolutely.
Dan from our group from Fruitful has been there.
Yeah, Fruitful's been there. The solo entrepreneur learning from the big company guy and vice versa. And so that's been good. Dave Miller Online. There's contact there, I think, too, as well. It's my favorite topic. Selling and keeping your soul, Nobody wants to be Mad Men. Don Draper, I don't want to be Don Draper. drinking at 10 a.m. and going through marriages. That's not what I'm talking about. But selling, serving people, meeting their needs, and in a recession time like we're in, finding ways to do that. It could launch the future. It launched mine through that '08 thing, I would say.
I think you might have just titled your own episode here, "Selling and Keeping Your Soul in a Recession."
There you go.
That's a tough needle to thread. So, and you've helped me a ton. I was changing careers when we worked together, and you're still somebody I reach out to. So, I highly recommend, if you want to level up your sales game, go to Dave Miller Online, join the group, and you won't regret it. So, Dave, thank you so much.
All right,
and we'll be in touch soon.
Okay, thanks.